Hello and welcome to another episode of Backyard Progression with me, Bronwyn Kenku. Now with better video software. I realized the video that I was watching was the issue, and uh, I'm a little late today because I had a doctor's appointment, so apologies for the difference for those who do show up on time and regularly. It is a thing I'm sorry about. Uh, It sucks when things don't quite work out the way you intend, but what can you do? So, last week, it was still kind of dry. Things were in the overgrowth stage. We are walking through some very tall, very clingy grass. I tried to get a new GoPro, not like new, but cheap new, like new to me, and it's worse quality. So, not using that one, unfortunate. Tried to make things a little bit better for everybody, and it just didn't play. Can't always have the. Can't always, be getting better. Like, sometimes you merely try, and that's okay. So, we have here a lot of the onion blooms that we talked about last week. I did harvest some and get them into some different places. We'll see if they sprout next year. I think it would be really cool if they do. I would love to have more edible plants closer. Um, it's event season for my LARP friends. Getting through some of the big ones. I know Drakenfest just finished out, along with uh, some of the Belagarth ones. Ragnarok's coming up. That is a huge carpenter bee. Please leave. Uh, just like giant bee going for it. I gotta drill out some wood and give them something to actually mess with that isn't my house. Because too often, critters that are invading your space have a need that you could very easily give them. It's funny how a person to ants could be a god, but too often they're just like, they don't even care or see them. Like one sugar cube could change an ant colony's life or whatever, and people don't even think about it. I would love to have all of the cool wild plants near my place. It'd be really good to get some more onions, more garlic, uh, all of the mints. I'm a big fan of mint. It is a good pest repellent. Uh, for those interested, most mice and insects do not like mint, so having some around and in your tent or whatever, super helpful. Yeah, like just knowing this kind of stuff and being able to better appreciate things you could utilize tend to make your life different situation. The problem occurs when things are out of your control. So, being a millennial, we grew up with a full understanding that global warming was going to be a big deal in our lifetime. And now we are finally seeing the repercussions of politicians who, fortunately, didn't pay attention. They did not care. They have a giant base who don't believe in global warming, which is unreasonable because our education system is messed up and they want it that way. That's the trick. They want people to be uneducated, to make poor decisions to elect them, you know, because they definitely don't have people's interest in mind. They are trying to make as much money as they can, regardless of the state of the earth, until they die. And that hopefully will be soon. There are next generations of these people. They're not looking out for people. I recently had a discussion on, like, the justice system in America and prison specifically. Like, we put the people who did the bad thing in the naughty box, and they sit there for however long some guy in a robe told them to. And it's unfortunate that we don't do anything for them when they came out. So before, they did crime because they didn't have a good opportunity to fulfill their needs and wants. After they get out, they still don't have that good opportunity, and they're actually steps further back because of not wanting to hire a criminal that a lot of places have. And it's really unfortunate that it's just a revolving door because of that. There's not a whole lot we can really do with the system in place. It just churns out more people who are going to commit crime because their situation does not give them the opportunity to better themselves. I feel like last week I was talking about how the world would be more interesting and better if shops acted like RPG shops and would take any little bit or bob and, give you some money for it. Like, it's that concept of having easier, more legitimate ways of getting money that would stabilize society a little bit better. You'd have less crime, less theft, because if it's a reasonable price and people have access to it, then it's not an issue. The issue arises when there isn't access, there isn't that thing that people need. Here, baby. Our baby kitten has been doing really well. She's getting out and enjoying the outdoors. It's been really good. Yeah. Okay. She usually doesn't let me hold her this long. But she seems to just enjoy the company right now. Because I was gone for the doctor's appointment. Okay. Alright. Yeah. So having access to the ability to make your life better, to do well, is not in everyone's reach right now. I think in Stardew specifically, I talked a lot about this. Like, there's a character, spoilers for Stardew Valley. There's a character who is homeless, who actually was quite rich, and it's kind of a trope for that to exist, but in a world where you have all your needs met, is it that big of a deal to not be employed? Is it that big of a deal if you don't need transportation to not have it? And that gets into that weird phase of, like, everyone currently needs internet. All of our uh, all of the taxes, all of the different things are now through the internet. If you don't have access to the internet, you can't do a lot of stuff that is state and federally mandated. So that's a problem, and it should become more of a public utility than it is. It's more important than the phone because you can get away without a phone now. Like, having a smartphone is a little different because that's also the internet. But mostly, if you didn't have access to the internet, were completely shut off from the world, it would be very different and difficult to actively get a lot of things done. And that's on the high level of like, this is a thing that should be public access for everybody. Like, there should be a baseline, and then you can buy better packages or whatever. But we're not even there. We don't even have that for food and water and basic public necessities. Like, it's tragic. The world we live in could be better. If we look to nature, nature gives almost exclusively without asking. Like, there's nothing you're giving in return to a fruit tree that is giving you fruit. The plants are doing their own thing, they've got their own life cycle, they're living their own life, and they bear fruit. If we could make more situations like that, where everyone's life is getting better, you can't fail Stardew Valley. You physically cannot. You will get there. In time, you will make more and more money to the point where if you're aggressive enough about it, you will make more money than the rich characters said they had at the time. It's kind of wild. So, with that said, it's a lot to look at these different situations in different places and see the change in seasons of everything and not I suppose I have a different perspective on a lot of this stuff because I'm so close to nature. I've lived my entire life with this available to me. So it's interesting. It's wild to understand that other people don't. Other people tend to live in a cement wasteland where everything pretty much stays the same all year long. Sometimes they get different weather. But their surroundings don't change. They don't have examples of just a giving planet that just needs us to not fuck it up. That's all we need to do. Just leave it alone. Don't fuck it up. And the system will work just fine. We get plenty of air, plenty of water, like things to eat in excess currently because of the way the farms are currently working, such that so much gets thrown out. It's too much a lot of the time. I'm constantly baffled at what we're doing and how we're doing it. When there are starving people, just even in our country, there are starving people. And yet there's aggressive tendencies to not want people to pick up trash. Like, from the dumpsters. Like, that's somehow put down upon. Like, there are people who won't eat food that fell on their own floor that should be clean. Like, if you don't trust your own home, like, there are people willing to eat that food. There's people willing to dig around in the trash and find fully packaged, fully, like, completely fine food that they don't even need to worry about. All right. We will do a quick changeover to this week. Shazam. All right. This week, we've got more smoke. I'm moving at a little bit of a quicker pace just because I got home later. It's the middle of the day. You can see my cat. She's doing her best impression to be as flat as possible. She's a good hunter. I love her a lot. But we are in another smoke cloud. You can see everything looking a little bit more sepia. Not nearly as bad as last time, but it's still wild just how bad the air quality is currently. Which is what brought up, you know, my concern about the global warming and all of the wildfires that have been happening in the past few years. It's been a lot. Like, there's so many wildfires, there's so many issues where it's not just a coincidence. It's not just someone who was playing with fire and started something way bigger. We are in a phase of the planet where everything is breaking down. All of our systems are totally messed up. But we're living through it. And we have to pretend like everything is fine. In the game I was playing on Tuesday, Soul Nomad and the World Eaters, there's spoilers for this game as well. There is a World Eater known as Thuris. He develops a whole cult that are basically smiling yes men who just have to agree and be, you know, accepting of what their god wants. And if their god wants the destruction of a certain person or way of life, then they're just cool with it because they feel like their god is, you know, all-powerful and going to give them salvation. So they don't much care about the actions they're taking. And they don't see the redemption in other people who don't see eye to eye. It's so important to have morals. It's so important to have values and an understanding of, regardless of what someone tells you, you should be able to think for yourself and comment on a situation. Like, you may have been told people who commit crimes are bad growing up at some point, until you kind of become a grown-up eventually. Kind of just happens. And you realize everyone's out here with no instruction booklet, no direction, no guidance. There's so much of the world where people don't know what they're supposed to be doing. There's nothing that they don't have the opportunities. They don't have all of these different ways of life. And it blows my mind that the far right will pull yourself up by your bootstraps a saying that is meant to be impossible. Like, and own it as if that's something that people should just do. Like, if you think about the concept of this statement, your bootstraps are on your boots, and you're somehow supposed to be pulling yourself up by the thing on your feet. So you should be pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Yes. It's infuriating that that is a common saying that means absolutely nothing now. It means like to rags to riches in some variety, like when it doesn't translate at all. I know my neurodivergent friends will understand my frustration with a saying like that, but it's sometimes it's more than the saying. It's the mindset that people out there are truly feeling this. This is exactly what they think people should do. Just get a small loan of $1 million from their family somehow and make their own business and figure it all out and just do it, right? Like I did it. Why can't you do it? And it's like, bro, like it is wild that I am the richest person in my generation, and not my generation, but like in my um, family. And I'm not doing well. Like, I have a few $1,000s saved, but I have to buy a car because a tree crushed mine. And it just, the market is awful. If I were to buy a house, that would cost way more than I have. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for something pathetic that shouldn't even, like, function as a household. That's the state of things right now. My maintenance costs are very low. I understand that I am doing the things that so many people say, like, oh, just save money. Like, just make coffee at home instead of going out for a $15 coffee or whatever. It's just like, yeah, okay. That's not what we're doing out here. It's it's so delusional. It's so it's so impressive that people don't understand just how bad life is for those who are unfortunate. It's frustrating as all hell that this is where we're at. This is the leadership that we have. This is the politics that we have. This is the economic system that we're under. We are an oligarchy with some capitalist action here and there. Most of the stuff doesn't matter in the capitalist end. You have needs, good luck meeting them, and work until you're dead. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you understand, like, that's the pill you're being given. It makes the escape into the woods that much more important to, like, really commune and get the lessons of nature, to truly be in a better world, what the world could have been, with a more free trade, a more understanding that you can enjoy surroundings without destroying them, that you can make life better for a few rather than making life worse and gatekeeping all the resources. It surprises me that the places with a lot of homeless folk don't have fruit trees instead of just nonsense trees that don't do anything for anybody. Like, those trees could be making food for anybody who needs it. And it goes back to that same thing. When a lot of fruit is ripe, it falls to the ground. It has just as much chance of having bugs on the ground as it does in the air. Um, you're welcome to wash stuff off. You're welcome to make, cut out the parts that the bugs got to. Don't eat soft things that have had mold. That is different. But for the most things, it takes a while for them to mold. And that's truly when they're breaking down and just making better fertilizer for the next cycle. But till then, a lot of things have value, even though we put expiration dates on them because of the packaging. This is the date at which the packaging will leach into the product and make it not as good. Isn't that a fun thing to learn? That we actively use poisonous packaging to handle our products. And that is the issue. Because a lot of the food doesn't spoil that. Like, if you are like me and take a little bit of notice to expiration dates and kind of like notice that they don't really work. And there's no way someone over at headquarters or whatever is going to be like, ah, yes, this product right here, 30 days, then it is trash. And like them actually knowing, regardless of how you store it or whatever, that it will go bad. It would be very funny to me, like a little precog thing from that movie. Just, yes, this product, it expires at this date. Make sure to write it down. And if that, like, if someone had that power, if an AI could accurately predict the future, people would use it for the stock market and then just have a bunch of money and then closely guard their little AI. It's too much. There's too much coming up and being around where people just feel like they could be expendable. And we should honestly be expending a lot of the high-end jobs. So, on my walks, I pick a piece of peppermint that just grows there. It's very nice. I like having it around. It helps on my walks to have something nice to smell. It helps when I get back to put in my doorway that I try to keep open for the cat and keep out the bugs. I hope you all have your own little things to help you on your way this week. I hope life gets a little bit better for everybody. That politicians will eventually figure out that things are fucked up right now and need to be revised. Thank you all for watching, even though I showed up at a bit of a later time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you again next week. I'll be playing games on Twitch this weekend. Be sure to check me out at twitch.tv/BronwynKenku. See you there. Have a better day.